SEBI and NISM are officially on the hunt for India's sharpest minds in the National Financial Literacy Quiz 2026. Whether you are a UG or PG student, this is your arena. Phase 1 is the college round. Crush the college round and you move to the regional round. And finally, we'll fly to the grand finale at the NISM campus. The college round is live right now. Scan the code. SEBI.
So this was about the National Financial Literacy Quiz, a joint initiative by NISM and SEBI. So for more info, you can visit our website nflq.nism.ac.in. Hello and good evening everyone. I am Mansi Ghanekar, working in the Investor Education Department of NISM. NISM is the capacity building initiative of SEBI. We at NISM conduct a wide range of activities at various levels with the objective of improving quality standards in the securities markets. At NISM, we work in 5 broad areas: long and short term academic programs, certifications for market intermediaries, e learning programs, training programs for working professionals and academia, and various investor education initiatives. We introduce a series on succession planning awareness comprising 5 episodes scheduled on every Wednesday of April 2026. The previous episode focused on the topic Overview of Succession Laws in India. Today, we present the 3rd episode of the series on the topic Understanding Wills and Estate Distribution by Mr. Deepak Jain. Mr. Deepak Jain is a highly accomplished and renowned financial expert with over 25 years of experience. He is the founder, director of American Academy of Financial Management India and the managing director of NextGen Estate Planning Solutions Private Limited. Mr. Jain is a master trainer and has trained over 45,000 individuals, including wealth managers and financial advisors across India. With his expertise in financial planning, wealth management, estate planning, portfolio management, asset protection, and business succession planning, Mr. Deepak is dedicated to improving the financial well-being of individuals. He is also an author, speaker, and coach known for his captivating and motivating presentations. Now, I would request Deepak sir to begin with the session.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Let me just share my screen. So good evening, everyone. Uh, Welcome to this session, which is on understanding wills and estate distribution. So prior to this session, we have taken 2 sessions. First was introduction to succession and inheritance planning, where we talked about what kind of documents you require for succession and inheritance planning. Second, we talked about intestate succession, that is succession laws in case you die without a will or trust in place. And today we'll be discussing the will part. The next session is on incapacitation planning and minor child planning. And the last session would be on trust planning, private family trust planning. Right? So same time, uh, next week and next to next week, we'll be doing those sessions. So let us start this session today. So today's session is about will and estate distribution planning. Now, what is succession? As we discussed last time, passing of assets and liabilities from a dead person to living person is called succession. You need to understand that a dead person not only passes his assets after his death, he also passes his liabilities post death. And we we need to know that how liabilities are passed post death. The law says you cannot give liabilities to an inheritor more than the asset that person has inherited from the dead person. So if the dead person has given assets worth 2 crore rupees to a inheritor, the maximum liability that can be transferred to this living person by the dead person is limited to 2 crores, not more than that. Right? Now, there are two types of succession. There are two types of succession: estate succession and intestate succession. If you die with a will or trust in place, where you legally control how your assets are distributed post your death, that succession is called testate. And in case you die without giving any legal instruction about how your assets are to be distributed after your death, that succession is called intestate succession. Intestate succession we did in the last session. Today I'll be talking about testate succession. And in testate succession, there are two tools of testate succession. There are two tools of testate succession. One is a will, second is the trust. Today's session is all about wills. The last session would be about trust, right? So let's understand what is a will, why you should make a will, what are the important features of a will, what should you keep in mind while creating a will, what are the legal enablements and restrictions while making a will. All of that you will get in this session today. So what is a will? So as per the law, will is a legal declaration of the intention of a testator with respect to his property that he desires to carry into effect after his death. Every word here has a meaning. It says will is a legal declaration. When you legally declare your intention, how your property is to be divided after your death, the document containing that legal declaration is called a will. And there are certain words you need to pay attention to. First, it's a legal declaration. Who can legally declare in India? Any person who is major and of sound mind can only make legal declarations. It is called capacity to contract. You need to be a major person and you should be of sound mind. Then the other word you should pay attention is intention. Will is just the intention. And why? Because it is an intention, it can change. It is just my desire. It's not I have given property when I make a will. I am saying I desire to give it. It's just an intention. And third word is after death. Any document which comes into force while you are alive is not a will. For a document to qualify as a will, it needs to be compulsorily implemented after you die. Right? Now, what are the applicable laws in India about will? Hindu, Christian, Parsis, Jews, etc. are governed by the Indian Succession Act 1925 for their wills or testamentary succession. But Muslims in India are governed by Muslim Succession Act 1937 or the Muslim Personal Law. See, in case of Hindus, it's interesting. If a Hindu dies without a will, he is governed by the Hindu Succession Act 1956. If he dies with a will, the act changes to Indian Succession Act 1925. Christians, in both the cases, it's Indian Succession Act. Right? So, what does a will help in? Why should you make a will? First is clarity regarding distribution. Will helps clarify your desire, how you want your property to be distributed post your death. And more is the clarity, less is the chance of dispute. Many times people create a will, but they fail to leave clarity. The most common thing which I see when I check wills is that when you have real estate, physical properties, physical assets, and you mention percentages in your will, you are leaving a chance of dispute. Suppose you have two sons and some land, and you say 50% goes to the first son and 50% goes to the younger son. But you never told which 50%. And both the brothers want one which is near to the road. So what are you leaving behind? Dispute. You have jewelry. You said 1/3 to my elder son, 1/3 to my younger son, 1/3 to my daughter. Problem is after your death, both the daughters and the daughter-in-law want the same necklace. What are you leaving behind? Dispute. So if you have physical assets, leave clarity. If you have land, include the land map as part of the will. And in that map, draw a line saying this portion belongs to this portion belongs to this person. If you have jewelry, include photographs of each jewelry piece. Give it a number. And then in your will write 1 to 10 goes to my elder son, 11 to 20 goes to my younger son, 21 to 30 goes to my daughter. Now what are you leaving behind? Clarity. Please remember, clarity avoids disputes. More is the clarity, less is the chance of disputes, right? Uh, for jewelry, I have another method which I need to share with you, which is even better. Suppose you have two children. What you do, you open two separate bank lockers, and in your will write contents of locker A go to my elder son, content of locker B goes to my younger son. How is it better than the first thing which I told you, first way I told you? This gives you flexibility. So you find a child is not taking proper care of you. Just take out goods from that locker, give it to the other locker. Right? So flexibility is very, very important in inheritance planning. More is the flexibility with the person who is creating the estate plan, better it will be for this person. Right? So we always try to enhance flexibility but retain control. Third will is a confidential document. Will is a private document. You need not disclose the contents of your will to anybody. You can keep them secret. Even if it is registered, the sub-registrar would not give the copy of the will to anyone till you are alive. But this confidentiality of a will is partial because till you are alive, it's a confidential document. Moment you die, it becomes a public document. And because it becomes a public document, it's a shortcoming of a will. Because will contain two such informations which you do not want the world to know, or which you might not want the world to know. First is details regarding your assets, they become public. And second is details of your relationship becoming public. So confidentiality in a will is partial, not complete. Will allows you to make provisions for minor children. If you have children less than 18 years of age, you can appoint guardian of such children through a will. Then, which will allows you to transfer offshore assets. If you have assets outside India, non-Indian assets, you can transfer them through a will. But here, should you create one will which takes care of Indian and non-Indian assets? Or should you create separate wills for separate countries? Generally speaking, separate wills for separate countries is better than one will for multiple countries. Generally speaking, unless otherwise proven. Last is will allows you to disinherit certain relatives. If you want certain relatives of yours not to have anything from you, who are part of that succession law which we discussed in the last session, then you have to make a will, otherwise they are the legal heirs. Why do most people not make a will? People say I'm married, so I don't need to make a will because everything after me goes to my spouse. True or false? Completely false. Because as we told in your last session, there are other people apart from your spouse who are your legal heirs, who in absence of will get a part of your wealth. If you wanted to go to your spouse after you, make a will. There is no other way. Then people say I have nominees and joint accounts, so I don't need to make a will. True or false? Completely false. Nominee is not the owner of the funds. Nominee is just the caretaker of the funds. I have a bank fixed deposit in my name. My wife is the nominee. After my death, the bank gives this money to my wife. Suppose this fixed deposit is for 10 lakh rupees. The entire 10 lakh rupees goes to my wife. For what? Not to own, but to distribute. And she will have to distribute it depending on two options. One, I had a will, then as per what is mentioned in the will, she'll have to give it to that person. And in absence of will, to my legal heirs. So she is not a owner. She is just the distributor of the funds as a nominee. Second, joint accounts. People say I have joint accounts. I have jointly opened accounts with my spouse, with my child, with my parent. So suppose there is a joint account between husband and wife. Husband is the first holder, wife is the second holder. And it is an either survivor account with 10 lakh rupees. Husband passes away. What happens? Wife doesn't become owner of the 100% account. Law says if an asset is jointly owned, it is equally owned. Law assumes 5 lakh rupees there is for the husband and 5 lakh is for wife. After husband's death, wife will have to transfer his 5 lakh rupees to his legal heirs in absence of a will. So your second reason of not making a will, nominees and joint account doesn't hold. Then I meet people who say it's a taboo. They are superstitious of making a will. If I make a will, I will die early. I can't talk about this. If I make a will, I die early. So it's not that. I can give you a data point that post COVID, I would have helped more than 40,000 people create their will. And fortunately, all of them are alive today. So making a will does not make a person die. But not making a will creates a problem in their lives. Then I have parents who come to me and say this. My children will never ever fight over my assets. I have raised such good children which would never ever fight over my assets. To such parents, I always ask a question, and if you are this parent, I'll ask you the same question. Question is, when your child was a kid and you bought them toys, did they fight over the toys you bought for them? And if your children could not share their toys while they were just children, they were just kids, and you were alive, what makes you believe that they will be able to share your inheritance after you die? When you are not there and they have a family which is interested in these assets. So please do not assume an agreement amongst your children how your wealth is to be distributed after you. Create one before you die. It's the pious duty of every parent to ensure that I will not allow my wealth to be the reason of fighting among my children. If your children fight over your wealth after you die, the culprit is not the child. Culprit is the parent. Because they did not try to create an agreement amongst their children while they are alive. Also remember, if they fight, they lose their biggest asset, which is relationship between siblings that is destroyed because of you. Do not leave it to chance. Try to create an agreement today amongst your children how your wealth is to be distributed after you die. That's a pious duty of every parent. Then people say making a will is complex, time consuming, and expensive. It's neither complex, it's neither time consuming, it's not at all expensive. Later in this session, I'll tell you how to actually create a will very easily. In fact, it's one of the easiest document to create legally. In fact, where there is a will, there is a way. If you leave a will, you leave a way. If you fail to leave a will, you leave a dispute, a mess after you for them to sort out. There are certain terms which are associated with will which you should know. First term is administrator. Who is an administrator? To understand administrator, you need to understand a term called executor. So who is an executor? Your after death agent who has the legal power to enforce your will is called an executor. I repeat, your after death agent who has the legal power to implement your will is called an executor. Wills cannot be implemented in absence of an executor. And if you do not create an executor in your will, if you do not create an executor in your will, court will have to appoint an executor in the will. Such a court appointed executor is called administrator. So in case the administrator is not there available in the will, court appoints the executor, which is called administrator. Second term is bequest or legacy. That means testamentary gift of a property. After your death, the gift of property is called bequest. The third term there is codicil. What is codicil? Sometimes you make a will and you want to alter some parts of the will, not the entire will. Instead of making a new will, you make a document that amends a part of the will. That document which changes a small part of the will, keeping the original intact, is called a codicil. So what is codicil? A document amending partially the will is called codicil. Executor, I just told you, your after that agent who has the legal power to implement your will is called executor. Legatee means beneficiary. Probate. After your death, when a competent court certifies the validity of the will and empowers the executor to implement the will, that process of court certification is called probate. Probate previously in India, some 3 months before, was compulsory in Mumbai, Chennai and Calcutta, which was struck down by the parliament in January, February this year, where they say probate now across India is just optional, not a compulsion. But whether it is optional or compulsion, probate is something which all of us should get done for the wills when we inherit properties. Because the title of a property which you get after probate of the will is much stronger than titles which you get without probate. Who can make a will? Any person who is competent or attained maturity according to the law which is subject to is competent to make a will. And when I say attained majority to the law which is subject to, what is the age of majority in India? It's not 18 for everyone. If a guardian is appointed for a child, that child turns major at 21, not 18. So for all people, making the age to create a will is 18 plus. For an orphaned child below 18, that age changes to 21 years. You should be of sound mind when you are making a will. Persons who are deaf, dumb or blind can make a will if they are able to communicate what they want. Also, no person can make a will when he is such a state of mind arising from intoxication or illness that he does not know what he is doing. What can I will? What can I include in my will? What can you will? All properties movable and immovable, which are transferable and you are the owner, you can will. So when you want to check whether I can will something or not, there is a 2-question test. First question is this property transferable? Answer should be yes. Am I the owner? Answer should be yes. If both the answer is yes, included in your will. In fact, you can will your future properties in today's will. Properties you are likely to inherit or create after today can be included in your will today. Law allows you to include future properties today. On a lighter note, if you ask me, can I will Taj Mahal? I said, yes, you can include Taj Mahal in your will. But on your date of death, we will check whether you own Taj Mahal or not. If you own it, it will be distributed. Otherwise, nothing happens. Otherwise, nothing happens. So, future properties can be willed. Your leasehold properties can be willed. Property which are on lease, provided the lease is transferable, then they can be included in will. All your ancestral property you can will, property which are ancestral in nature, but you can only will your share of the ancestral property in the will, not the entire property. Not the entire property. What are the important elements of a will? So let's see what are the important elements of a will. First is a will must be dated. Date is compulsory in a will. Date is compulsory in a will. Why is date so important? Because the last will is valid. And in absence of date, you cannot tell whether this is the last will or not. So will is, the date is compulsory. Will is, the date is so compulsory in a will that we strongly advise you to put the date both in numbers, in figures and words, like you do on a check, the amount both in figures and words, so that it cannot be uh, taken advantage of. It must be signed by the person who is creating the will, and the person who is creating the will should ideally sign on all pages of the will, but at least on the last page where is this person's name is written, signature is compulsory. It must express the desires that the testator's wishes should be carried into effect after his death. Any document which gives property while you are alive, even partially, is not a will. Suppose I have two houses. I say first house goes to my child while I am alive. Second one goes after I die. This document is not a will because it is partially implemented while I am alive. For a document to qualify as will, it should be only implemented after I die. Then only we can say it's a will, and the laws of will are only applicable then only. There must be a disposition of property. If I tell in a document that I want my son to become a doctor, is it a will? No, it's not a will. It was just a wish. But if I say I want my son to become a doctor and for this purpose I am leaving 1 crore for him from my estate after my death, now this is a will. Only telling wishes not backed by property is not will. A will must be attested by at least two witnesses. At least two witnesses should confirm that they saw you signing the will. And the word here, please pay attention, is at least two. That means there can be more than two witnesses to a will. And ideally, there should be more than two witnesses to a will. Why? Because tomorrow, if the will is contested for any reason, then one of these witnesses should go in person and tell the court, I saw him signing the will. Last point is the most important point. A witness need not read the content of the will before signing it. Witness did not know what's written inside the will. Witness is only confirming I saw him signing. Tomorrow you are a witness to a will and somebody says you witnessed that will. Do you know what is written inside the will? You say, no, I don't know, because I am not required to know what is inside the will. Right? If it is my will and I want you to witness, I will open the last page of the will. I will sign in front of you, telling you this is my will. I have made it from my free consent without any pressure. I am in a full best state of mind. And then I'll ask you sign below that will, confirming you saw me signing the will. That's it. Your job is only to confirm you saw me signing. Last line written is there is witness or his or her spouse cannot be a beneficiary in a will. Somebody who's benefiting from this will or somebody's spouse who's benefiting from the will cannot be a witness to the will. So suppose I have two sons and I give 50% property to each son of mine, and one of the son becomes the witness also. Does this make the will invalid? No, will is still valid. But the son who has become the witness will get nothing from the will. So please do not become witnesses to wills of people where you are likely to get something. Don't agree to be a witness of somebody because that person might not know this rule. Executor in a will, whom do you trust to implement your will after you? Who is an executor? Your after death agent to implement the will is called executor. So in the will, you make a column. After my death, this person would act as the executor of the will. And in case this person passes away or not ready, willing, or able to act as an executor, I appoint this second person as a successor executor of the first person. So your after death agent who has the legal power to implement a will is called executor. A will cannot be implemented without an executor. If you do not appoint an executor in a will, court will appoint one. Duty of an executor, any person capable of executing a will can be an executor. The capacity of contract should be there. Executor is legal representative for all purposes of the deceased, and all property of the deceased vests in him. So, moment you die, the property control goes to the executor and he distributes it as per the will. Executor is obligated and the power to carry out directions contained in the will. He has to collect and realize the state of the deceased, pay his debts, and distribute his assets as per mentioned in the will. Well, how should you choose a good executor? First thing you check whether a person is a well-wisher or not. So most important thing. Only a well-wisher of the family should be appointed as an executor. This person should be younger and healthier than you. Should be honest, faithful, and a person of integrity. Should not be a minor. Can be an individual, a company, a trust, or even a bank can act as executor. And also remember, a beneficiary can be an executor. If I'm giving everything to my wife after me, it's best to make the wife the executor. Why would I give control and ownership to different people? 6 will related question which you need to ask yourself before making a will. First is, what do I own and what am I likely to own in future? And I can tell you most people don't even know what they own. Leave alone what they are likely to own. Right? So we discussed in the first session, they are physical assets, they are financial assets, they are digital assets, they are intangible assets. Make a list of all of it and also make a list of what you are likely to own in future from inheritance or other sources. Then decide who will receive your assets, in what proportion, and in what manner. I don't think my spouse is capable to take care of my equity portfolio. So in a will, I make a provision after my death, liquidate this portfolio within 6 months and convert it into a fixed deposit in the name of my spouse. In what way is very, very important. Then what assets do you have specific wishes to? And who do you want to get these specific beneficiary? Who is the specific beneficiary? So suppose I say my residential house should go to my spouse after I die, and remaining should be divided equally between my wife and my children. So you have a specific wish for a particular asset. My son lives in a flat which is owned by me, and I want him to continue living in that flat after I die. So I have a specific wish for that flat. So you should mention the specific wishes. Whom do you trust to implement this will? Will be the executor? How do you want to store this will? Where will this will be kept after you create this will? And I can tell you one of the best place to store the will is the sub-registrar office. Get it registered. Sub-registrar would have a copy of the will, which is very, very difficult for somebody to do something wrong with that will. Right? Because this is the custody of the government of India. And that enhances the validity of this will also. Do you want to write a will yourself or do you want to hire an expert to create a will? Generally speaking, I would always advocate that you hire an expert to write a will. Will is a document which would operate your entire wealth, entire thing you have worked your whole life. That document operates that entire wealth you have created. And any small mistakes you do in that will cost very dearly to the next generation. Don't take that chance. Don't take that chance. Hire an expert inheritance planning lawyer or a estate planning lawyer, not a normal lawyer, a specialized person who specializes in inheritance planning to draft your will, to draft your will, right? Do you know, do you know, a will need not be type stamped or registered to make it valid? That means I can make a will on a plain paper in my own handwriting and it need not be registered to make it valid. I can, you can create a will right now in your home, a will so strong that it is valid the moment you create it. What I need to do, I take a plain paper, I write I so and so, son of so and so, having religion so and so, having PAN card number so and so, make this as my last will. I appoint this person as the executor of my will, and in case he passes away or not ready, willing, or able to create a to implement this will, I appoint this second person as the executor of the will. Then I say, for example, on my death, I am distributing all my wealth to my spouse, including all movable and immovable assets owned by me. In case she or he passes away before me, it is distributed between my children equally. Then you make a declaration. I have made this will in sound mind without any coercion, influence of anybody. And this will is my last will and cancels any will made prior to this. Below it, you put your signature and ask two witnesses to sign over it with the date. This is a valid will created in your home. So that means a will need not be typed, it need not be stamped or registered to make it valid. Is it a is it a perfect will? No. Because if you type it properly, you draft it properly, you put it on a stamp paper, you register it with a sub-registrar, it becomes difficult to challenge the will. But but even without these, will is valid. Now, will can be changed any number of times. Any number of times you can change the will. Even if you write on a will, this is an irrevocable will. It's always revocable. It's always revocable because will by nature is revocable. Will by nature is revocable. So Muslims can only make wills of 1/3 of their property. Heirs of Muslim can consent to allow a Muslim to make more than 1/3 of the property to be willed by a Muslim. But in case of Sunni Muslim, this consent has to come after the death of the testator. And in case of Shia Muslim, that consent can come before or after. It is it is to be remembered that Muslim personal law governs Muslim wills, unlike other places where it is governed by the Indian Succession Act. Muslims can make will orally or in writing, although written will is desirable. Right? So, how to execute a will? How to create a will? For, create the draft will, sign on all the pages of the will in presence of both the witness. Ask the two witnesses to sign the will in presence of each other. Decide where to store the will. Try to get the will registered in the local sub-registrar office. Right? So, this is basically about a will. Right? Now I will talk something more about wills. When you make a will, what things you should keep in mind and what mistakes people generally make while creating a will. First, inside your will, after you have mentioned your name, address, and all those stuff, and you say this is my last will, create a section of my current family. So, my current family consists of these people: name, relationship, and maybe their ID proof number, right? Just to tell that you remembered all of them while making the will. Then please always appoint an executor in a will. Appoint not only an executor, a successor executor in a will. Then all your physical assets should be specifically distributed to people. Don't mention percentages if you are dividing it between more than one person. If you are giving everything to one person, then it's okay. You say all of it goes to that person. Then your movable assets, it is not necessary that you add the entire list of the assets. I should not mention this folios of mutual fund, these bank account, because this is very changeable thing. So you can make a provision saying all my bank accounts, all my mutual funds, right? All my investments in these places goes to this person or is divided like this. You can make a provision like that, and it is better you do that because this is changeable. Third thing is always appoint a residual beneficiary. What you will create after today or what you fail to mention in the will, include it as a residuary beneficiary clause in the will. Include your digital assets in the will. Your mobile phone number, your email ID, website URL, social media accounts, etc. etc. Create a separate section there, my digital assets after my death, and you create those things. Once you do that, create a clause for alternate beneficiary. If the first person you have mentioned above does not get it, then who gets it? You can say if a beneficiary in my will is not alive, it goes to the legal heirs of that beneficiary. Or you can say it goes to the children of that beneficiary. And in case that person dies leaving no legal descendant, it goes to my other legal heirs. So make a provision of alternate beneficiary. You can also add a clause in the will which is called a no contest clause, which basically says if anyone challenges this will, he will not even get what I have promised in this will. Then you mention today's date and say, I have created this will on this day, on this date, at this place. Then you sign below the will. And your signature should be ideally the same which you sign on your bank accounts. So that tomorrow if the signature is contested, we can get a signature copy from your bank account and then ask the writing expert to check, compare both of them and give a report. Always sign it in front of both the witnesses. But in case you are able to sign it in front of one witness, you sign in front of the one witness, ask the first witness to sign. When the second witness comes, again sign in front of the second witness and then ask that person to sign. So both witnesses should see that you have signed the will. Don't let it there. Add date to the will. Very, very important. Last will is valid will. The witness should mention their name, their ID card number, PAN number or Aadhaar card number, their email ID, phone number and address so that your children can connect with them after you. One or two more things which I need to tell you. First is that please let your children know that you have created a will. Any will which comes to light 10 years after you die is not, may not work the way you want it to work. So correct people should know that you have created a will, right? Uh, these are some of the things which I think you should remember while creating a will, right? If you have any questions regarding wills, you can put it in the question answer box and we'll take it one by one. right? So with this, we'll you put those questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering those questions for you.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I think now we can run our poll.
Yeah, we'll run our polls.
Yes, sir. So I'm launching first question, first poll, that is. So I think accordingly you can address few questions because I can see there are few questions in Q&A
Yeah,
box.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Sahil, should I keep on answering the questions simultaneously,
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can do
or,
that.
or we do the polls first and then question answer?
So you can address question along with poll.
Okay. The
Yes.
first question is from Rinku. He's saying, is a joint will valid? See, joint wills in India are valid as per law, but I've seen some problems registering these wills in some states in India. So, joint will is when two people jointly create a will, right? And these joint wills can be reciprocal or they might not be reciprocal. The husband and wife jointly create a will where they are giving properties to each other. And then they mention in case one of us, both of us pass away, it goes like this. So it's a reciprocal and then to wherever both the husband and wife wanted to go. So one of the features of joint will is that in case this is a joint reciprocal will and one of the partner passes away, the survivor cannot change the will. There's a clause of implied trust. So that you should know. If you think that's okay with you, create a joint will. Otherwise, separate wills are better. Uh, if there is only one child, if you have only one child, that child would become the legal heir along with your spouse and mother. So you check whether you would like that to happen or not, right? If you want that child to get everything after you, maybe create a will. Okay. Uh, you should not incorporate the signatures of beneficiary in the will, right? That's not a good practice to do. How will testator's liability flow to beneficiary? I have told you. The beneficiary gets the liability as equal to the amount of assets they are getting. So priority order is first it goes for death expenses, then clearing the liabilities. After clearing the liabilities, whatever remains goes to the legal heirs. Oral will in India is valid only for two people. These are called privileged will. First is defense for personal and merchant navy officers at the time of war or action can create a oral will. It's called privileged will. That is valid. And second is Muslims can create oral wills. A beneficiary's Aadhaar number or PAN number should be added in a will, not compulsory, but it makes it easier to identify the person. So living will is not a will. Living will is end of life decision. So living will is a document which allows you to tell that in case I am on a deathbed, on a ventilator, when to pull the plug, right? So who can make a will? Any person who is competent to contract can make a will. So people who are major and of sound mind can make a will. It is not necessary for the witness to sign on all pages of the will. But if they do it, it's better. But testator should ideally sign on all pages of the will so that tomorrow somebody cannot change a page. Stamp paper is not necessary to create a will, right? But if you want to create a will on a stamp paper, you can use 100 rupees stamp paper to do it. In case nomination is done for a demat account, nominee is still not the owner. Nominee is just the caretaker. And if there is a will, then it transfers to the person you wanted to go. Otherwise, it goes to all legal heirs. Even in case of nomination, uh, in case of a will, the institution might ask you to probate the will because there is a directive that anything above 5 lakh rupees you can ask for probate of will. Probate is after death when the will is certified by a competent court by a competent court. That process of certification of will by a competent court is called probate. That means you can never probate your will yourself. Only only your legal heirs or executor can get your will probated, right? But probate, as I told you, is something which, even though optional in India, is very much desirable because the title which one gets after probate is better than title which we'll get without a probate. Husband and wife can make a joint will. Intercaste marriage, a will can be made. That's not an issue. Indian Succession Act is applicable, so you can make a will. Advocate is not necessary to be an executor. Okay, so Omkar has asked, can I create a will which has incentive clauses? Yes, you can create a will which has incentive clauses, but it's better you do it in the trust, not in a will. Because trust is a more permanent and continuing document or entity than a will, right? And other questions of yours, Omkar, we'll do in the next session, the incapacity planning and the trust planning. Abhishek has asked, can I mention that property will be used by my spouse till she is alive, then it will go to my son? Yes. So it's called life interest. So you can put a life interest clause in the will that after me, this property can be used by my spouse to live, to rent, but not to sell. And after her death, it is to be distributed like this. That's called life interest. Digital wills in India are not valid. So there is a no contest clause, which is a gray area of the law, but many people write that clause saying that any person who challenges or does any act which would make this will invalid will get nothing from this will. You cannot make a will effective from backdate. If probate is not mandatory, what is the procedure to executor? The executor just starts distributing the asset as per the mandate given in the will. So he goes to the sub-registrar office, shows I am the executor. These are my credentials. I am allowed to distribute these assets. I am distributing it to these people. Witness can be an executor, provided they are not beneficiaries. You can video record the signing of the will ceremony. That is good, but not the entire will, because that can be held against you. So if you divorce your spouse after registering the will and you die before the change, then there are two ways to write in the will. You say my spouse and then you write the name, and other ways you just write the name of the person. If you write my spouse and then you write the name, maybe this person doesn't get the will, the assets. But if you just write the name, they will get whether they are married to you or not. Your sister doesn't have right over your assets in case you have a child. If you are a Hindu. Will can be changed any number of times. There is no law against, right? Executor can be one of the beneficiaries. Even a non-Indian can be an executor. So, in spite of a will in place, some institutions ask for succession certificate or a probate of the will because they are afraid that tomorrow this will might be contested and they would be taken to task. Although law says a will need not be probated or even registered to make it valid. You can disinherit anybody from your will. That's the law allows. But remember, anybody who's dependent on you, you cannot say that I am leaving nothing for them. If there is no will, we discussed in the last session, it goes to your legal heirs as per the religion you are attached to. So, as we discussed in the last class about the life insurance policy, in life insurance, there is a special kind of nominee which is called beneficial nominee. So, in 2017, Insurance Amendment Act came, which said that if the nominee in a life insurance policy is either of the parent, spouse, or child of the life assured, such a person would be called as beneficial nominee. And they said they amended the section 39 of the Insurance Act, and they said beneficial nominee would get the insurance claim money to the exclusion of other legal heirs. So, if in a life insurance policy we have made either your mother, father, son or daughter, husband or wife as nominee, they will get wealth or this claim money to the exclusion of other legal heirs. That means they become owners. And this nomination you can't overrule by a will also, right? Medical fitness certificate is not compulsory, but it's a good thing if you can add to your will. A minor can hold assets, not control assets. So minor cannot create a will. So, Sahil, I think we are up with the time, although there are many questions remaining. So you please complete the polls and give feedback.
Yes, sir. So I'm
Yeah.
launching the feedback as well. So yes, I can see that 60% of the attendees has participated in poll questions, that is feedback questions. So I would request all the other as well to participate. We will wait for 1 more minute, 1 to 2 minutes, and then I think we can conclude this session. So yes, sir. I think now we can conclude this session. As I can see, 75% of the attendees has participated in the feedback questions. So really thank you again to all the attendees. Yes, sir. I think now we can conclude the session. Thank you so much, sir, again for
Thank
sharing your
you.
time and knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And also would like to request all the attendees to join in for the fourth episode, which is scheduled on next Wednesday, that is 22nd of April. So yes, do join us to that for that webinar as well. Thank you. Thank you again, sir, for your time. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, sir. Thank you. So now I request IT team